Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for episode 21 of SEO Fight Club. Today, we have a special guest. We have Matt Diggity. He is going to walk us through getting started in the ins and outs of affiliate marketing and website flipping. So if you have questions in that area or in SEO in general, be sure to queue them up in chat. Put some asterisks in front of them so we know that they're questions and we can find them easily. Other than that, we'll go through our expedited boilerplate. So if you haven't heard, there's this YouTube show called SEO This Week, and the show is an amazing time saver because in it, Clint Butler goes through hundreds of blog posts and news articles about search marketing and SEO, and he reduces it down to the 5 or 10 articles that matter most for the week. So if you're like me and you typically spend 20 hours a month going through all that crap just to find what's important, you can get all of that time back just by watching Clint's show. It's like a huge time saver. So Clint, what can people expect?
This week we look at a lot of backlink building opportunities, and then we also discuss some, recent information in regards to the latest Google update and some insights about that. I think it was a pretty good show, and we kept it short. So,
excellent. And with that, I'd like to introduce Matt Diggity. I'll let Matt tell us about himself.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be talking to all of you guys again and to be on this show. Let me go ahead and just share my screen right now, and we'll get going with the presentation. All right, just confirm you can see. We got my slides on your screen?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is basically affiliate SEO and website flipping. The reason I wanted to talk about flipping instead of just building affiliate websites, ranking them, and stuff like that, and because I think a lot of people understand the concept of ranking an affiliate site, getting passive income, and all that whole side of things. But I want to explore, what it's like to get rid of a website and selling a website and telling the story about why you would do that in the first place, as opposed to other methodologies of kind of like growing a portfolio. But in case we haven't met before, my name is Matt Diggity. I was born in a city called Fresno, California. It's also known as the armpit of California. Very proud of that. And after that, I went to UC San Diego and studied electrical engineering. I believe, Ted, were you a computer science major?
I was a physics major, but I got my start at the National Center for Supercomputing Applications. I just couldn't handle the lectures on while loops.
Jeez. Okay, yeah, well, I couldn't handle that either. I started out as a computer science major. Turns out I cheated on my first homework assignment and never caught up, so I had to switch to electrical engineering. And turns out that was equally as terrible. I basically was an engineer in the Silicon Valley for about 9 years. Dreaded every single part of it, working 60-hour weeks if it was a good week, in a cubicle, just terrible work environment. So around 2009 was when I started having my first experiments with affiliate SEO. Someone had handed me over the 4-hour work week, and one thing led to another. I ended up going to a meetup, like meetup.com, and they were reviewing the 4-hour work week, talking about like what are their passion projects, and everyone was just doing SEO for some reason at that point in time. I just jumped on the bandwagon and fell in love with the idea of like passive income. So right off the bat, my first foray into SEO and making money online was affiliate SEO. And it started to work out. And eventually, like 2011, I started making enough money to feel comfortable enough to leave my day job. I sold all my crap, sold my full condo's worth of stuff, and just packed up and started traveling for full time and exploring my career as an affiliate SEO. After that, it's kind of looked like this. I founded diggitymarketing.com, which if you heard about me before, it's probably because of this. This is my blog where I talk about SEO tested results. So I approach SEO just like I did as an engineer or like an engineer would. I like to test everything before I assume that it's true. So I think I'm in good company with this show right here.
Yeah, we like that here.
Yeah, I figured. And I also perform some SEO consulting to beginner and advanced SEOs all the way up to the agency level. I am a CEO of a 7-figure affiliate marketing agency called LeadSpring. And what we do is just are completely dedicated to building, monetizing, ranking, and flipping affiliate websites. I'm also the director of a 7-figure client-facing agency. I got a backlink service called Authority Builders, and I'm the host of the Chiang Mai SEO conference. And like I mentioned before, what I want to talk to you about today is more like what I'm focusing on with LeadSpring, which is building affiliate websites and flipping them. So, all right. So basically, how I want to start this off is there's two main approaches to scaling an affiliate business. The first is learning how to spell affiliate correctly. I can't spell it right no matter what. I always spell it wrong. So actually, the first one is the portfolio mode. In the portfolio, basically what you're doing here is you're growing an army of affiliate websites. You start with one website, you get it up to $6,000 a month. Then you take some of that and then you put it into a new website. You get another website up to $10,000 a month. Now your portfolio is worth $16,000 a month. And you keep growing and growing and growing. And that's how it goes. The pros of this one is eventually you can amass a huge monthly recurring revenue. The cons is that reinvestment will kill your profit. And maybe this is just the way that I was managing it, but I didn't see it any other way. But basically what would happen is, let's say you hit your target and you got to $50,000 a month. And that's a great target. You got to that point. That's a lot of money, right? But most likely, you're probably not going to want to stop there. So what you're going to want to do is take a big portion of that revenue and invest that into more websites, more resources, more teams, more stuff. And then you're essentially still making maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a month profit, but you're making a lot of revenue, and that'll keep scaling. And in my experience, I got all the way to $100,000 a month, and I still didn't want to stop, and I still wasn't making that much profit. Another con is it's very resource intensive. So like every time you start a new website, you need new content writers, new link builders, new managers, new everything to take care of all that stuff. Lastly, it's risk. So like any website that exists on the internet that ranks in Google, like any moment of time that it's on the internet, the longer it's ranking in Google, the more chance it has that something bad could go wrong. Some algo change happens, negative SEO happens, whatever, just there's risk on the table.
Matt, what is typical for like revenue in terms of like profit margin, typically speaking on one of these sites?
Yeah, so it's very front heavy. So when you start off, you're in the hole, guaranteed. So
Sure.
The amount you spend on content and links, and you're not going to rank for a while, so you're not going to be making any money. So it's completely flipped the wrong way. You could spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a brand new site and make zero money. That said, towards the end, when you're really cooking and when you got an authority site and you're pretty much just spending money on content and a little bit of links, it's very, very heavily profit based. I would say probably 95% you're keeping as profit. That's a good question, because like a lot of people ask me, like how much should I invest, or like how fast should I go? Like when I'm looking at it, when I'm investing in a new website, I go balls to the wall simply just because I know at the end, the other side of things, it's the best profitable business I've ever seen in my life, right?
And when you talk about risk, how many sites die? What's the average lifespan of a site? Because at some point they probably most gonna go away, right?
Probably. Well, I know I don't own any of the first websites that I've built. I've sold all of them, and I can tell you they don't all still exist. I don't know if that's because of what the new operator did with them or whatever happened, but some do exist. I don't know. I have a feeling that there's a huge graveyard of sites that it gets filled up all the time, and over time, the ones that do survive are going to be like the major authority sites, the ones that are putting in the work, that are making it look like a real brand and becoming authorities in themselves.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so in opposition to the portfolio model, there's also the flip model. And what you're doing with the flip model is you're building websites and you're selling them for multiples. And multiples right now are quite gigantic. Typically what you're getting is 35x to 40x monthly profit on whatever the site's making. So for example, if your site's making $10,000 a month, you might be able to sell that for $400,000. And that's amazing right now. And yeah, and people are buying these. Investors are buying these sites right now because they're one of the best asset classes. Real estate's kind of getting tapped out. The good deals are drying up or have been dry for quite some time. Stocks are at a pretty high right now. So even investors are coming into the space, and that's why multiples are so high. So it's another perk for selling right now. The pros to this one is risk reduction. If you don't have the website anymore, there's nothing to lose. Like there's nothing that can go wrong with it. It's not your problem anymore. The next thing is your time and resources are completely freed up. All the staff that you had working on things, all the cash you had going into links, into content, that's all yours now. That's right back in your reserves. And then who doesn't like a 6 to 7 figure paycheck? In terms of the cons, one of the major cons is that your revenue vanishes. So you get used to having a huge influx of cash every month from this affiliate site that's making 30 grand, 50 grand a month. So that's going to vanish as soon as you sell the site. So you have to be able to cope with that, both from a business point of view of keeping enough in the bank, but also from an emotional point of view. Like that's a weird thing for someone to have a hugely profitable company and then maybe even go in the red for a few months while you're building it back up. So you got to be able to handle that emotionally and financially. So this is a graph, there's green lines. What this is a profit growth over 12 months for an affiliate website that we worked on. We started working on this site around July 2017. It's making $2,000 a month. 12 months later, it's making $20,000 a month. Interesting thing about this one is if this kept up, if this $20,000 average kept up, and that occurred for 6 months, 12 months, enough for a buyer to feel comfortable with it, estimated sale price of a site like this is $700,000 to $800,000. And these sites sell quite often. Here's another example. This is a true flip example. This is one that we bought about 13 months ago, and we just sold last month. So this is a true example of us buying a site, growing the organic traffic, and then selling it later. We purchased this site for $50,000, and then we sold it for 6x. So that's 600% APR. That's like I'm getting 9 to 10% on my real estate properties. So this is, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to operate sites like this, it's a great investment. It's a great thing to do with your time and your money. So let's talk about why purchase a website and the criteria to use when you're buying a website. I'm assuming like almost everybody who's watching this show has probably built a website from scratch before. They probably are familiar with what are the first steps. So I thought I'd switch things up and make things a little bit different and talk about like what it's like to purchase a website. So something that's already ranking, already making money. And we'll talk about like why would you want to take that route and what do you look for in a site that you want to buy anyways. So here's why I would purchase a website instead of building one from scratch. The first is because you get to know the minimum earnings for a site. So I've been in this game for a while. I've been doing affiliate SEO for about 10 years. And I think I'm pretty good at figuring out, how much money a niche or a site would make at the end of the whole road. That said, I'm good at it, but I'm wrong before that I'm right. I think it's very difficult to try to figure out how much a niche would make at the end of the day, especially when there's so many unknown factors. Like, when are you going to rank? Is this a site that will be easy to rank 9 to 12 months from now when the algorithm could change and there's all this stuff going on with, I don't know, health sites and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many unknowns in the air. But if you're buying a site, then you definitely have access to the financials already, and you obviously know that it's ranking because that's how it's making its money. So all that, this unknown right here is kind of answered for you. Second is you get to avoid the Google sandbox. No one likes to play in the sandbox. The third is it's efficient use of your resources. So at LeadSpring, my biggest expense is staff. So we like to work with the best, and they're not cheap. So it's inefficient use of my resources to put them working on projects that aren't moving when they put their effort into it. So instead of focusing their time and effort on a site that's in the sandbox, it's better to use that in a site that's going to move along and get some value out of their time. And it's better for morale too. Like, no one likes working on a site that's just kind of sitting there putting along. You're just waiting for this imaginary clock to kind of expire. And another word on efficient use of resources, like there comes a time in every business's evolution where your time is more valuable than your money. Like your worth per hour is probably more than the $200, $300, $5,000, $10,000 that you could spend on buying a website. So it's important for you to look at these things and just judge, like what's going to cost me more, the cost of buying the site or my employee resource time. So let's talk about what to look at when you're going to buy a site. I'm going to show you guys the process that we use. It's best done with a partner. In this exercise, one of you guys is going to be the good cop. The good cop is trying to convince the other guy, yeah, this is a good niche to get into. This is a good website to buy. And the other guy is the bad cop, and he's going to hate on the whole idea. He's going to try to talk the other guy out of it. And this exercise can also be used if you're just like going to build a website from scratch and you're trying to figure out whether you want to get into a niche or not. So here's what the good cop looks at. Good cop is going to talk about niche research first. The first thing he's going to look at and he's going to discuss is it a trending niche? Is this a niche that is on the upswing? It's becoming more popular. It's becoming more of a hot topic. Second, is it what I like to call an oh shit niche? Sorry if you have a PG rating, you don't anymore. An oh shit niche is basically a
Thanks
niche.
a lot, Matt. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries. It's a niche that people will do pretty much anything to fix in a hurry. Stuff like saving a marriage, or stuff like losing weight, or fixing health, or dating. Health, wealth, and relationships, the big ones. These are ones that are recession-proof. These are ones that are easy to make sales with. And these are pretty much the only niches that I like to play in. Then the good cop is going to look at some monetization quick wins. For example, are there more products to review? So did this affiliate website only review a subset of the products? And we can do a quick content gap analysis with Ahrefs to just see like other competitors or other competitor sites, did they review more products? And there could possibly be some quick wins here. Second, can we switch out some of the affiliate offers? Are they doing review roundups like top 5 blanks, and in the top 3 spots they're all Amazon products when they could just be working directly with manufacturers and getting a 20% affiliate commission rather than a 5% or 8%, whatever Amazon is doing that specific niche. Next is the products in the top 5. Are they out of stock? Do they have bad reviews? I mean, a lot of times you just need to click on these products and just see, like, a lot of times they're out of stock, or they might have that warning that says like there's only 3 left. That means they're going to be out of stock tomorrow and you're not going to be making any commission. So switching those out, putting the ones that are heavily in stock and have the best reviews is a good play as well if you're working with Amazon. Is the site an authority site? Meaning that, is it in a particular mode where you just publish a new piece of content and it starts off on page 1 or 2? It's just already in Google's good graces. If you're putting something out on topic, it's going to do great right out of the box. This is a huge plus. There's different ways to figure this out. Like, you can cross-correlate the date that certain posts were published with the date that they started to pick up traffic in a tool like Ahrefs. You can also, like, if they have any decent keywords in positions 1, 2, or 3, like decent meaning like search volume 500 to 1,000 plus, like if they have anything that's ranked 1, 2, or 3, it's most likely they're in authority mode, or they will be soon. This is a huge bonus. Do they have poor keyword research? They've only reviewed a subset of the topics and they could be reviewing a lot more. Now here's what Bad Cop is going to take a look at. Bad Cop is going to let you know if the niche requires a super geeky level of knowledge in order to talk about. Like, so I really like fantasy novels. I love fantasy books. And there's this website called bestfantasybooks.com. It kind of ranks like all these fantasy novels over time. I've read like the top 20 books on there, but I could never even imagine, nor I wouldn't even know where to find someone who could write the content for that site. Like, you need to know all about like character development and like all this nerd culture. Like, that's just too much for an affiliate website, especially if you're trying to scale and own a few of them. Is it a niche where frequent updates are required? Another thing that's going to impede scaling. Like, say like a lot of people like the gaming niches, like gaming technology, gaming mice, and all that kind of stuff. But that stuff changes so quickly, and I don't want to be bogged down with having to like update my posts so often, just because like there's 45 new routers out this month and stuff like that. Is it a fad niche? Is it something that's going to go away, like hoverboards, for example? Are the sites ranking above it super old, or are they super gigantic authority sites? Like, it's not impossible to rank over sites like these, but you're fighting an uphill battle. And then lastly, is it a YMYL niche, your money, your life, which gets constantly and increasingly scrutinized over time by Google? It's not impossible to rank in these niches. I'm in YMYL niches, and as long as you know what you're doing, in my humble opinion, I feel like it gets a little bit easier over time, because a lot of the competition gives up. So after you do all that, good cop, bad cop, have a conversation. Good cop wins. You decide to buy a website. Now, here's what I like to call the super audit. This is the first things that you're going to do to your website to get it moving hot out of the box, to milk as much as you can as soon as possible, and get this ship ready to sail with its maximum capacity. So these are the first steps that I take as soon as I get my hands on a new site. First thing I'm going to do is word of mouth research. What I'm going to be doing is poking around Facebook groups and where people hang out in this niche, and ask them what are the best products and stuff. Exactly what I'm trying to do here is get the best products and topics in the niche that the people that are actually into it really care about. This is where you're going to find out like the best products to promote, the topics that are going to promote that don't, like the topics that you're going to write about that aren't coming up in keyword research because they're so new, they're so hot, they're controversial. This is where you're going to find out all that stuff. So where to ask, the first place is I go into Facebook groups. Here's just an example of me jumping in one of the Facebook groups to say, hey guys, you ever had any weight loss supplements work for you? If so, which ones? You can do Quora. Quora is great for that. Reddit, of course. Answer the Public is great for getting like topics to talk about, stuff like that. Next, you're going to do what I like to call baseline conversion rate optimization. Why is it called baseline? You guys can probably hear a jet flying over right now. Sorry about that. Anyways, baseline.
Are you on that jet?
Yeah, it's just right in the middle of the night, 11:30, right before bed. Awesome. So baseline CRO is just the conversion rate optimization that you don't need to A/B test because you just know it works. This is the stuff that's going to make sure you make back your money on this investment as soon as possible. So stuff like adding featured images to your top of your affiliate post. So this is going to handle people that are browsing through stuff on their phone real quick. Maybe their boss just left the meeting real quick and they have 2 minutes before he gets back from the bathroom. Like, he just has a quick amount of time to figure out if he's on the right page. So if he searches for best golf drivers, it helps to show pictures of freaking golf drivers right at the beginning of the article to make that guy feel like he hit the right place. Second would be using urgency and emotion in your copy and your content. People want to be engaged these days. We have high ADD on the internet. So one way to keep people on your page for both a conversion point of view, but also a user metric point of view, is to use urgency and emotion to keep people on there. Strong intro paragraphs. I can't stress this enough. So going back to this ADD that we all have, use techniques in your intro paragraphs. Like, there's one that I like to use called the entertainer, where you just like give people the impression that no matter what, if they're not even going to learn something new from this article, at least they're having fun reading it. You're writing in an engaging way. You're making jokes and making them happy. There's also the educator point of view, where you hit them with a fact that they probably didn't know right away. It's just to prove you know what you're talking about, and then this person should read this article. There's also one called the fear factor, where you make them feel like if they don't read this article, they might waste money, they might buy the wrong thing. So it's really important to get that emergency emotion and hit it strong in that first intro paragraph. Use short paragraphs. No one likes to read walls of text. Use contrasting CTA colors, your call to action colors. So this is a basic design theories, but let's say your website's green. So you want to take a opposite but complementary color like red, and that's the one you're going to reserve only for your call to action color. So you're only going to use the color red for your buttons, your buy now buttons, and all that kind of stuff. What that does is it trains the reader to only take action when they see a certain color, and that action is when you're making money. If you want to look at a site that does this really well, go to look at Wirecutter. You'll notice that every single link on their site that makes them money is a color. Every single link that doesn't make them money is black. It blends in with the text. And another thing you can do is start replacing those products. So we did some research. We found out the hottest products in the niches. We found out which affiliate programs we can work with directly. So we start updating our top 5 lists and stuff like that. And we get the products in the first place with the best reviews, the best commissions, and they're definitely in stock. So after you do all this, like this is just a capture of that graph that I showed you before. This is the first month we've worked on the site. This is the second month that we had it. So doing all this CRO stuff can make a huge impact on the money right away. Step 3, technical audit. It's real easy to do this kind of stuff. Like what I recommend using is like Screaming Frog or Ahrefs, and just running a technical audit and running down the list and checking off all the boxes. But the big things you want to work on, speed optimization. In my experience, you don't get a bonus for having a super, super fast website, but you do get dinged if you have a slow website. So just mind your dot your I's, cross your T's, all that kind of stuff, and make your website fast. Clean up your indexing. Don't index stuff that doesn't need to be indexed, like tags, categories, author pages, just a whole bunch of junk pages, paginated pages. Just keep the crawl budget clean. Keyword cannibalization. This is a big one. Going in, the tool I use to figure out keyword cannibalization is Ahrefs. I'm just looking at keywords over time and seeing if they have multiple URLs jumping in and out. This is a huge epidemic issue that I see coming up over a lot. I recently just saw an article come out where Google's talking about that they don't like the same website ranking for the same query more than once. So like this is some hot topic, get it fixed. Cleaning up 404 errors will just do good management of your link juice, and then making a decision about thin content, whether you want to just bulk up the content that's thin, like 200, 500 words, maybe bulk it up to 1,000 words, or maybe just merge that content into something else, or just delete it altogether. Step 4, reverse engineer the competition. So this is where you're going to find all the topics that you need to write about that you haven't already covered. Very simply, figure out the main keyword for each of your silos. So let's say I'm a website about bodybuilding. So one of my silos might be around protein powder, like best protein powder. So my main keyword for that silo, best protein powder. I drop that keyword into Ahrefs Keywords Explorer's feature called Also Ranks For. So in this example here, I dropped in weight loss pills and make sure I'm in Also Ranks For mode. And what that's going to do is it's going to go to all the people on page 1 that rank for weight loss pills, and it's going to tell me all the keywords that they rank for, not just weight loss pills, but all the different keywords that they rank for. Export, that's a real quick way to just do keyword research for an entire silo right there. And you just repeat that over and over again for all your silos. Step 5, you're going to reverse engineer yourself. So you're going to take your own website, toss it in Ahrefs or whatever you like to use, and figure out what you're ranking for. And what you're looking for is a couple different things. You're looking for keywords that are ranked in 5 to 10. And these are keywords that are just almost there. They just need a little bit of a nudge. So what you can do is basically send a target anchor text link. In my experience, still one of the biggest ranking factors is sending a link with a target anchor text, even an exact match anchor text, just making sure before that your anchor text distribution can afford to send a target or a exact match anchor text. But that could be all you need to pop it from 5 to 1 is just a nice anchor link. You can also take a look at keyword density. So like a lot of times you might find that you're ranking for best protein powder, but in the content, you don't have that exact string written out. You might have best on sale protein powder for kids or whatever, something like that. Like maybe you have a word in between. So maybe the solution right here is just to add the exact keyword into your content, which can definitely help a lot. I've also seen like little tidbit here. I've also seen like I have trouble ranking for keywords that could be like ergonomic chair reviews. Let's say I had the word ergonomic chair review on my page, the singular form of it. I find that I have a hard time ranking for ergonomic chair reviews with the plural unless I actually go in somewhere and write the word reviews. So going in and taking a look at these kind of things, just tuning things up. Then you're also going to look for keywords on page 2 or 2 to 3. A lot of times what I find, these are kind of like accidental rankers. So what you might see is, for example, let's say I have a page ranking for best ergonomic chairs, and then I find that this page is accidentally ranking for something like scoliosis ergonomics. Why? Because probably in that content, I probably say, okay, this chair is great for people who want to improve their scoliosis through ergonomics, and then magically it's somewhat ranking. So what you can do is either build up a subsection for this. Maybe we just need to write more content on it, but better yet is probably to create another standalone page that really delve into the ergonomics of scoliosis. Google already likes you for this keyword, so just run with it and flesh it out for them. Now, step 6 is to prioritize. So you've probably figured out tons of new content that you need to write about. What I recommend is building a table like this. So we got our topic for the topics for the content in this first column. Right here is whether or not it's monetizable. So if it's monetizable, meaning like I can throw an affiliate link on there, I'll put a 1. If it's not monetizable, it's purely informational, I'll put a 0. Non-Amazon, meaning like does it have its own affiliate program? Like I can work directly with someone with a better commission. I'll put a 1 for that. I'll put a 0 if it's Amazon. Search volume, if decent chunk of search volume greater than 1,000, I'll give it a 1. Relevance. So this is relevance to the current state of what your website is already talking about. So maybe this website is already about losing weight, but maybe this is the first time it would be talking about supplements for losing weight. So this would be my first Garcinia Cambogia review. So I'd give that like a 0.5. Then I just total all these guys up and then start working on them from top to bottom and start rolling it out. And once you start getting this going, you do the technical audit, you do the baseline CRO, you do all the keyword research, you execute, you create the plan. Now it goes into the building phase. All right, the growth phase. Basically what this boils down to is surprise, surprise, content and links. So I won't get too much about on-site SEO. I know like you guys are getting pretty awesome treatment from all the guys here on this show on on-site SEO, but I'll give my 80-20 advice on what I'm finding is really critical for me in 2019. Number 1 is covering all the subtopics of the query. Let's say, for example, your query is how to lose belly fat. Now, what are the subtopics involved in answering that Google might think are required to talk about in order to answer this query completely? Well, that might be talking about not eating trans fats or doing some exercise or eating a lot of fiber, right? So what you need to do is go out, look at the SERPs and open up your competitors, look at their H2s and their H3s, figure out their subtopics and make sure you're covering them in your content. You can also do stuff like looking at related searches that are at the bottom. People also ask, like these are great ways to figure out what are all the mini questions that are involved with answering the main question. Second, so you got your main query, how to lose belly fat. You got your sub queries. I like to answer these in an NLP friendly format. So natural language processing, basically, like as I understand it, Google is using NLP to try to figure out what human content is talking about, and it's a hard challenge. So what we can do is make things easy for the robot, for the crawler to figure out what we're talking about, to just serving up the answers to the query in such ways that are really easy for the NLP algorithm to figure out that we answered the question. So, for example, if the question is, what is the best temperature to cook a stew? A great NLP-friendly answer would be echoing back the question, giving the answer, and then giving some kind of units that are associated with it. So the answer might be, in our opinion, the best temperature to brew stew is 102 degrees Fahrenheit, where degrees Fahrenheit would be the units. It's a very nicely structured NLP-friendly answer. Next, tone. So when you're writing your content, instead of being super salesy and like saying stuff like, this supplement is the gold standard, it's going to change your life, like that might help you sell a little bit, but it's also going to turn off a lot of people who are just not into hearing that kind of stuff. And when people leave your website, that's not good for user metrics, and that could affect your ranking. So instead, what I like to do is use a very research heavy and reporter-like tone, where it's kind of like, right off the bat, I'm talking about how many different products that we researched about, that we purchased, we tried ourselves. We went out on the internet, we scanned all the reviews, we talked with different consumers, and we never really say that this chair, this supplement is amazing, but we might say something like, this brand's stellar reviews and long history of being a major competitor in the market would suggest that this is one of the best ergonomic chairs that you could buy. So you can see how like that has a lot of more credibility to it. It seems like I'm a reporter. Like there's not much I'm going to get out of it. I'm just telling the facts. It converts well, and it keeps people on the page. Keep people on the page with call outs, expert quotes, and stuff like that. What I'm talking about here, this is how to deal with people that are basically skimming through content. They're on their mobile device. They're waiting for their train, their stop on the train. They only got a few minutes. They're not going to read all the content. They're going to skim through. They're going to look at the headings. So pop out like the key features, pop out pieces of text with large expert quotes, that just to keep people that are scrolling on the page longer. TF-IDF. So obviously Google's not using TF-IDF exactly in their algorithms, freaking from the 70s, but they're using some kind of algorithms to kind of look at the content and make sure that, again, like all the different words or subtopics are being talked about on the page. So in my experience, TF-IDF has high correlation with getting pages that are ranked higher in Google. And in my experiments, I've seen that single variable testing, doing TF-IDF optimization is getting me increased ranking. So I'm rolling this out as part of my SOP. I'm just doing it. Lastly, for trust and all this EAT type stuff, I don't truly believe that the algorithm's smart enough to figure out like, okay, this author, what is his degree? How many places did he write? Can he be trusted to talk about all this stuff? But the algorithm can figure out when an article has no author, which can't be good for EAT. So make sure you assign some authorship to your article, to your website. And I even take things a little bit further and get a Google My Business, even for affiliate sites. Okay, cool. So let's talk about some backlinks. How I like to think about things is links can basically provide one of three different things: relevance, trust, and power. Now, relevance. Relevance basically comes from the content where a link is placed. If you get a link from a golf website, an article about golf, then Google thinks you're a little bit more about golf. It makes complete sense. Relevance also comes from the anchor text that is used. So I get a link with the anchor text, my favorite tennis racket, then Google thinks that this article is a little bit more about ratings of tennis rackets. Like, this is very simple to understand. Let's talk about trust. So trust, there's a concept that's baked into the algorithm that a link might imbue a certain level of trust based on the distance that site is from a set of manually curated seed sites. So the New York Times is probably one of these manually curated seed sites. So if you get a link from a site that has a link from New York Times, that's a fair amount of trust that you might get. And there's, so Majestic tries to model this with their trust flow metric. And there's some theories about what else can imbue some trust. So of course, getting a link from an aged editorial site that's been around for a long time is quite clear that they have an editorial process. Not anyone can just write on there and build links like that. That might imbue some trust. Another way to look at it is getting a link from a site that Google ranks themselves. So if Google ranks a website in their search results, and that's obviously takes a lot of trust for them to do that, obviously they're probably okay with the backlinks that it puts out if it's okay with its content. Now, power is a lot simpler to think about. Power is basically what we're talking about with link juice, which is slang when we're referring to the old PageRank algorithm. And it's basically a measure of how powerful are your links, or how many links do your links have. An example of a link with like a lot of power would be like a PBN, where you're getting a link from a homepage, right? So here's where to get each of these things. Relevance is easy. All links give relevance. No matter what, you're getting a link from a website that has a topic associated with it, an article that has a topic associated with it, an anchor text has a topic. So that's automatic. But trust you can get links from sites like editorial links, like Forbes, IBM's. But again, like I talked about, links from sites that rank themselves. Like my service Authority Builders completely focuses our link building criteria on this, and we're getting really good results. Power now you can get from a few different places. So if you want to go the gray hat route, you can get links from private blog networks. So you're getting links from homepages here, and homepages typically have a lot of links going to them. You can use PBNs on tier 1 or tier 2 to boost up a white hat tier 1, for example. Another place to get links with power is getting link insertions into articles that already exist. So here's my 2019 blueprint from beginning to end based on what stage a website is. If a site is in the sandbox, so you're in the sandbox, you're not, Google just not giving you any rankings at all. The name of the game right here is just to build trust. So right out the bat, I start building social profiles for the site. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Then I'll go out and build business citations, just typical stuff that normal business would do when it first starts to come online. And then I'm going to start to slowly drip guest posts. Why guest posts? Well, if you look at the natural occurrences on the internet, if anyone has like a real website that they don't do their own link building for, they're not like, it's just a true like white hat website, you're just writing content and seeing what happens, you'll notice that most of the links that you get are coming in from new pages that never existed before. Maybe you just did a podcast, so they talk about the podcast and link to you. Maybe a new SEO news roundup comes up, and those come out every month, and people don't update that old stuff. Like, these are new posts that come out. So what we're doing at this point in time is just mimicking the internet. We want to build trust, so we're doing things that happen most commonly. Then in the intermediate stage, you jump out of the sandbox. You know this happens when all of a sudden your rankings go from like page 6 to page 1, 2, or 3 for some keywords. Now it's time to kick up the link velocity with the guest posts, but also start to get some link insertions. So reaching out to people and asking, hey, can you update this article and maybe put me in there? So I'm getting a little bit more power at this point in time. I also, depending on the project, I'll probably do some PBN sniping. So this is where, I've identified those keywords that are in position 5 through 10 that need that oomph, right? So I might send a target or exact match anchor text with the PBN, and then boom, get it to 1 or 2 right there. And I might start some PBN linking on tier 2 at this point. Now, after that, we're in authority mode. Again, authority mode is when you just got so much damn trust. Whenever you put out a new piece of content, you're just instantly ranking. At this point in time, you're going to want to focus more on content, but of course, you're not going to stop building backlinks because your competitors aren't either. But at this point in time, you're probably making a lot more money. So now it's time to go out and secure those hard to get editorial links. I might start some other things like skyscraper outreach and more high link velocity campaigns like this, where I don't care more about dripping out the velocity. I go as fast as possible. I'll definitely keep going with the guest posts and link insertions. And I'm going to start peeling off the PBNs that I built before and getting the site completely squeaky clean. So, okay, now that the site's ranking, it's rocking, let's talk about selling. How to prepare for a sell, and basically how to figure out when the best time to sell is. So here's your flipping to-do list. First things first, remove yourself from everything. You want to be able to truthfully tell the buyer that it hardly takes you any time to run the site. So start to automate things, build processes, completely removing yourself out of the equation. This is a nice thing to do for the buyer. Queue up the next 6 months of content. So go out and get that next 6 months written and put them in draft mode on the site. Then the buyer truly feels like even if they do nothing at all for the next 6 months, they're already taken care of for this new business that they're buying. You're going to slow down the link building, basically because the the multiple or the price you can sell a website at is a multiple of the profit, not the revenue. So if you're spending all that profit on link building, that's going to eat into the sale price. So slow down the link building. I recommend at this point in time doing cheap outreach links. So outreaching for link insertions is typically the cheapest in my experience. Utilize that email list that you've been building to boost profit. So go ahead and start emailing about promotions like Black Friday and stuff like that, and milking that list. And then most importantly, figure out the best time to sell. So what I recommend here is loading up Google Trends and looking at a niche that's similar to what you're in right now and looking at its lifetime. So we can see here in this niche that probably had a rise of about 3 years. So then you would look at your niche and see, okay, this is where I started my site. Here's where the real takeoff happened. Here we are now. It's about 2.5 years. Okay, so maybe it's time to start thinking about getting ready for a flip about 6 months later. So let's summarize what you've learned. We talked about the pros and cons of flipping versus portfolio. We talked about the advantages of purchasing a site over building one, how to evaluate a site for purchase using the good cop, bad cop methodology, the first steps to take when you start working on a site, the CRO stuff, the technical auditing, the keyword research, 80-20 of content in 2019, breakdown and roadmap for backlink building, and then how to prepare for a big flip. Now, in case you guys want to stay connected, if you haven't seen Diggity Marketing before, come check it out. I talk about, like case studies that tested SEO techniques. Connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to partner up, if you want to learn affiliate SEO from me, I got the Affiliate Lab. If you want me to do your SEO for you, the Search Initiative, and Authority Builders if you need backlinks. And of course, come to the Chiang Mai SEO conference. Kyle Riff's going to be speaking there. We had Ted last year at a workshop. It's a good time, and definitely come check it out if you can. That's it.
Sweet. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, then take some time to go through some of the viewer questions.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You already covered your affiliate lab. Are there any other courses that you recommend for affiliate SEO?
Yeah, so Authority Hacker is good. They know what they're talking about. Gail and Mark, they walk the walk, so to speak. So I've seen what they can do. Like, that's important whenever you're buying a course. So yeah, solid.
What sites, you mentioned buying and selling, where do you go? Like, in your case, you're selling a website. Do you go like Flippa or Empire Builders or sites like that, or you use your network to sell?
So most of the time when I'm selling, I'll use Empire Flippers. I mean, like, if you go through a broker, they're going to take a certain percentage. Empire Flippers takes 15%. But that, at the end of the day, like, it's also within their best interest, and they know how to evaluate a site to make it as expensive as possible. So that's breaking even anyways. Selling a website through a broker is a million times easier than selling it yourself too. Right. Buying websites, I've bought from Empire Flippers before. I think I've bought like 2 or 3, but I also really like to buy websites that are, like, they haven't started making that much money yet. Like, they're in its infantile stages. So maybe they have some keywords on page 1. They haven't figured out really how to monetize. These are the ones that I like to start working on. They're out of the sandbox. They're in the niches that I like. And I'll use just like personal networks for that. I'll make a post on Facebook. You probably see me do it. Like, I usually buy a website every time I make a post like that.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you. I noticed that you called hoverboards a fad, and those are obviously evergreen. If you don't mind, what are some of the niches that you've flipped sites for in the past? To give people an idea of, what an example niche might be.
I mean, I don't know, like, how, like, legally or anything I'm allowed to say. Like, I don't know what the proper lifespan is where it's safe for me to talk about it. But I can say, like, my first sites that I ever sold, like, I was in the ergonomic chairs a lot. These were before I really grasped onto this idea of only going for like health, wealth, and relationships. So I was really into ergonomic chairs. I flipped sites in the beauty niches. Sorry, I can't be like too exact. Like, I personally know the people that are running my websites now.
Oh yeah. I don't want you to spoil any businesses. Just thought I'd ask.
When you're picking, do you like go to like the standard affiliate programs, like like the Amazon or the Commission Junction, or do you have, because of who you are, do you have more networks now where you can get ahead of niches, if that makes sense?
Nah, not so much. Like, so basically, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm building authority sites. So, like, I'll try to be at the level of straight health or fitness or skincare. Like, these are like really broad. So I could get into acne, I could get into warts, or like all these different things that are involved in the skin, like hair loss, dandruff, like all that kind of stuff. So basically, you're already in that niche. Like, you can go any direction you want. And once you're in there, like, you just reverse engineer the competition, and you'll see like which products are they putting in first place, and those are the ones are the best ones to be into.
And then seek out the affiliate program for the product. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Gabe Jordan is, what's the best way to position an affiliate site for sale to someone like you?
So what I look at is basically, I like a white hat backlink profile. It needs to be in a niche that I want to be in. So, I mean, I don't know how much you can help that if it's already started. But other than that, like, I want to see some keywords on page one, at least some that are decent volume. And I want to see that there's some left on the table. Like, if you've done a stellar job with things, like, and I don't see much room to add, like, that's not that great for me. But that's a weird thing to say. Like, I'm telling you, like, de-optimize your site and remove all the call to actions. But that is what the kind of thing I look for is opportunity. But essentially, like, if you're trying to sell a website, like, just make sure it's got some keywords on page one and give a clean backlink profile.
Makes sense. You ever bought any sites from your students? Like, they go through your program and you're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me buy it from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Makes sense. Well, there's an opportunity for you, Gabe. Josh had a question: is how do you determine if a niche is on the upswing?
Google Trends. So basically, that tells everything. Just Google Trend it. Some stuff is like no brainer. Like, when crypto was on fire, everyone knew crypto was on fire. And sometimes you'll just know.
Makes sense. Dorian asked about, I guess you have a program called Lead Springs Launchpad. I was wondering if you're going to open it again. We had a couple people ask that same question actually.
Yeah, so what LeadSpring is basically, it's a JV program. Let's say you get a site to making $2,000 a month and you just get stuck for whatever reason. So we would JV at that point, and whatever additional profit that we added onto it, we'd split 50-50. It's been closed for quite some time, simply because, like, we're pretty full on with our own projects where we're keeping 100% of it. That said, like, we do take applications sometimes, like, because we never know what niche is going to, suddenly emerge that someone has a head start on. So keep your eyes peeled. I mean, we don't have any date when we might start doing it again. I'm thinking maybe Q3 or Q4 this year.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Lewis asked, for affiliate sites, what ratio of information post to review post do you use?
Brilliant question. So this is what I find super important these days. Like, it depends on the niche. The go-to answer for any SEO question, niche specific. But what you're going to find is, like, there's a sweet spot in every niche where you find the sweet spot of commercial content versus informational content. And at that perfect apex, that perfect sweet spot, that's when you're in true authority mode, meaning, like, every time you push out new pieces of content, they're ranking really high. And when you find yourself getting away from that sweet spot, then you'll start to see that, all of a sudden, like, I'm publishing content and starting on page 4. So what I do is track over time, and I'm always, like, noting down, like, what page is indexed at and trying to find what's the best performance. And if things go the wrong way, I revert back. I go back to 60-40. But in general, just go for like 50-50 and then start to play around, and then you'll start to notice, like, what the sweet spot is.
Okay. This one is asked a few times: expired domain or brand new domain?
Expired versus branded?
Brand new.
Oh, okay, brand new. I like brand new simply just because like expired domains are, in my experience, they're a roulette spin. I'm not that consistent with it. And the biggest failure I can have in my business is wasting time because my resources are expensive. So I'd rather start with a branded domain. But really the smart move for me to do is to just buy a website that's already running out of the sandbox and ready to rock.
Right.
Yeah.
The caveat to that is, do you use exact match over a brand?
Branded all the way now, because I want websites to be able to grow into however big the name can be. You know, like if it's truly branded, it can go as high as possible. And it's also a good argument to like making your homepage not rank for anything. Just make your homepage a portal, and then you can start adding anything you want underneath it. Instead of being, proteinguide.com, like you're going to be stuck in a protein powder. But if you go into ripped dudes, you can go into protein powder, all these different like weightlifting type things.
Right. Quality writers. I know I've run into this, and I'm sure everyone has, is where are you finding your writers?
So writing, what I'll do most of the time is I'll go into Facebook groups. There's various writing Facebook groups, like Cult of Copy is one of them. And yeah, there's a few different other ones that I've got them written down in a sheet somewhere. But basically what I'll do is I'll put out a post saying like, yeah, I'm looking for an expert in this niche, maybe winemaking, for example. Who makes wine? Show me some of your work. And I'm looking for people that are dedicated to that topic. And what I want to do is I want to employ them full time. So they start getting used to writing on that topic. They get better and better and better at it. And when I'm doing that too, I create an author for them on the site. So they start to become the voice of a certain persona. That persona starts to build over time. I could do some guest posts under that persona too. So it's like kind of making this EAT stuff to prepare for whatever apocalypse might actually come.
And the last question, I knew it was going to come up as soon as you mentioned it, is how are you getting GMBs for your affiliate sites?
GMBs, so it's just like testing different outsourcers. Right now we're using GMB Swarm. It's not white hat SEO, so bear in mind. Yeah, it's not real.
Okay. And that's it, Ted.
Well, that was awesome. So I asked the audience how many of them were going to watch this twice, and there's a lot of people responding back. So this was an amazing presentation, and I'm certainly going to watch it again because, I mean, there's just so much in there to absorb. So thank you so much for that. I want to point out that the Chiang Mai SEO conference is one of the hippest events I've ever been to. So it's really cool. If you want a destination SEO conference where all the content, frankly, is at an even higher caliber than what you saw today, it's a pretty cool event. And I can't wait to get there next year. I know Kyle's gone this year. Kyle, what did you think of the Chiang Mai SEO conference last year?
Oh, it's fantastic because it's one of the largest SEO conferences. I think, Matt, maybe there were like 650 or so last year, and maybe another 100 on top of that this coming year. Is that the goal?
We're going for 800 this year.
800, Jesus!
Wow, it's like a rock concert.
Exactly, that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of people that want to talk about SEO.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing when you get that number of people that are kind of dedicated to the idea of like, hey, let's talk about this and sort it out. I mean, it's an amazing event.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Kyle, and thanks for coming last year, Ted. You can make it up.
Yeah, it's a great event.
We'll keep doing it every year until Clint comes.
Yeah, got to get Clint on the circuit. So once again, if people have follow-up questions, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Probably Facebook. Like you can join my Facebook group, The Lab. Like it's probably the best way to get questions answered. But yeah, I would say that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts?
Just want to say thank you. Like I've been watching your show. Always good nuggets on here. Happy to contribute. So thanks a bunch, and I'm going to bed now.
Yeah. Long day. All right.
Thanks so much,
Yeah,
Matt.
thank you very much.
Good night, guys.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Please remember to subscribe, leave comments if you have ideas for future topics on the show. And we will be back at our normal time next week, so 11 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll see you next week. Thanks.